All right, guys, so we have an action called set alert that's going to dispatch the type of set alert to the reducer, and it's going to add the alert to the state, okay, which initially is just an empty array. Now, what I want to do first is I want to give you an example of calling this action. So a good place to do this is in the register. So the register component where we did this console log passwords do not match, we actually want to set an alert with that message. All right, so what we're going to do is connect this component to Redux. And the way that we do that is actually through something called connect that's available with the React Redux package. So let's go ahead and import connect from react-redux. Now, whenever we use connect, we have to actually export it down below here. So we're going to do export connect and then open up some parentheses, and then the name of the component goes right after it in parentheses like that. Okay, now we want to bring that action in, that set alert. So we're going to bring that in as well. So let's say import set alert, and that's going to be from let's see, where is it? So we're inside what, auth, so we want a dot dot slash into actions, and then it's coming from the alert actions file. Now whenever you bring in an action, when you want to use it, you have to actually pass it in to connect. Now connect takes in two things. One is any state that you want to map. So if we want to get state from alert or profile or anything else, we would put that as a first parameter. I'm just going to put null because we don't need anything right now. The second is going to be an object with any actions you want to use. So in our case, set alert. Now what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to access props.setAlert. Okay, and the props come in up here through the top. So props. So we should be able to do props.setAlert. So I'm going to go right here where we're doing our console log and change this to props.setAlert. Passwords do not match. And what this should do is pass this in as a message to our actions. So we want to put an alert type as well, but then it will generate an ID and dispatch set alert with that message, alert type, and ID. So let's just put an alert type. Now the alert type, I'm going to put danger. Okay, and I'm going to show you why I'm doing that, because in our CSS, where is it, app.css, you can see that we have a base class of alert. This works just like Bootstrap. So alert, and then we have different classes like alert primary, alert light, alert dark, and alert danger. And what I want to do is when we create our alert component, just have this be dynamic. So it can be danger, success, whatever, and that will change the background color. All right, so I'm going to add danger as the alert type. So if I save this, and I go back to Chrome to the register page, and if we look in our Redux tools under state, you'll see alert. We have our initial state of just an empty array. Now if I try to submit this with passwords that don't match and I register, notice that an action gets called. See right here, set alert. So this was dispatched from our actions file, and then down here in the state we now have an array item. We have an object that has a message of passwords do not match, an alert type of danger, and an ID that was generated by UUID. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If I do it again, it'll get added as another object. Okay, so far so good. Now we're going to want to display these obviously in our UI, because it's just a normal person using our application isn't going to have Redux tools open. So the way that we can do that is by creating an alert component. All right, so I'm going to go into components, into layout. That's where I'm going to create this, and create a file called alert.js. All right, and actually one thing I want to do is in register, we're going to be doing this throughout the course, instead of having props and using props.setAlert, I'm just going to destructure it up here. So we'll have some curly braces and we'll just pull out setAlert like that, and then we don't need to do props.setAlert. All right, we'll be doing that throughout the course instead of using props. All right, so let's go back to our component here, to our alert component. And let's see, we're going to generate, we're going to do RACF, and I'm going to put a P in here because we're using prop types. Okay, anytime you use a prop, in fact, we should add that to our register before I forget, because I always forget prop types. So we want to bring in prop types. We can actually do IMPT, so that will import prop types. And then down here at the bottom, we'll go ahead and say the name of the component, and then dot prop types, so lowercase p prop types, and set that to an object. And we're going to have the setAlert as a prop type. Now we can use the ES7 React Redux snippets extension and just do PT for prop type, and then whatever the type it is, the data type, which in this case is a function, setAlert is a function, so I'm going to do F, and I want it to be is required, so I'm going to do R and then enter. Okay, so we get prop types.func is required, and we'll go ahead and save that. All right, and then we'll go back to our alert component, and we're going to need connect here as well. So let's bring that in. We'll say import connect. So basically, anytime you want to interact a component with Redux, whether you're calling an action or getting the state, you want to use connect. So react-redux. All right, and just like we did before, we want to export default connect and then the component name. Okay, now in this case, we actually want to get the alert state. What we saw in the Redux dev tools, that array, we want to fetch that into this component. So we're going to create a variable here called map state to props, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're mapping the state, Redux state to a prop in this component so that we have access to it. In this case, it's going to be the array of alerts. So I'm going to use an arrow function. This takes in state as a parameter. And then we want to set this to some parentheses with curly braces, and then whatever state we want, okay, or whatever prop we want to call it, which is I'm going to call alerts, and then we can use state dot and then whatever we want from the root reducer. If we look at our root reducer, which is index, we have alert. That's the only reducer we have. So to get the state inside of alert, we want to just say state dot alert. Okay, so now we'll have props.alerts available to us. Now, instead of using props.alerts, I'm just going to destructure it. So up here, whoops, let's just get rid of props and put in our curly braces and just say alerts. That way we have access to it like that. So down here in prop types, alerts is now going to be a prop, so we need to add that here, and we'll do PT. It's an array, so A and then R. Okay, and now we just want to kind of map through the alerts and output whatever the message is along with the class for styling. But in addition to that, I want to make sure that it's not null. I also want to make sure that there's actually something in the array. I don't want to output anything if the array is 0. So since we're only using one expression, we can get rid of all this whole curly braces, and just simply do alerts. Let's say if alerts is not equal to null, double ampersand alerts is alerts.length, because remember it's an array. We're going to say if it's greater than 0, and then we can do our map. So alerts.map. I'm just going to save to format this a little. So map will just basically loop through. It's kind of like a for each, except it returns something. In our case, we're going to return some JSX for each alert. So we want to do alert arrow function, and then in here we'll do our JSX, which will be a div, And inside the div, we want the alert message. So we'll say alert.msg. Now for this div, we're going to need to add a key. Okay, whenever you map through an array like this in output JSX, it's a list, and you need to have a unique key. So our key is going to be the alert ID. All right, and then to style it, remember I showed you what we have in the CSS. We actually want to set this to curly braces with some backticks, and inside here we want the alert class and then the alert dash, and then this is going to be dynamic. So we're going to use a template string variable here, and we're going to say alert dot and then whatever the alert type, which remember in register we set it as danger, so this should show up as alert dash danger, which has the styling attached to it. So hopefully that makes sense. I know that's kind of a lot, so let's save that, and then we need to embed this into app.js.